start with the front of the bus. My clearance lights, identification lights, turn signals, four-way flashers, side markers, and reflectors. The proper color is amber. My headlights, low beam and high beam, the proper color is clear. Okay, all my lights are securely mounted with no missing or broken screws. Lenses are clean, not cracked or missing, and all lights are operational. Now I'm going to go to my windshield wipers. Securely mounted with the proper tension and no missing nuts. Blades are not worn or damaged. Exterior mirrors. Brackets are mounted securely with no loose nuts or bolts, not damaged. Mirrors are clean, not cracked or damaged, and properly adjusted. Okay, so I'm going to go to the driver's side of the bus to my steering components. Okay, I'm checking my steering box and hoses. Securely mounted with no cracks, dents, or damages, no missing nuts, bolts, or cotter pins. My hoses are not cracked, kinked, or frayed, and there's no leaks from the pump or hoses. It's also properly lubricated. Okay, I'm going to close my door. Door and hinges, properly secured to the body with no missing nuts and bolts. Steering linkage. Linkage arms from the steering box to the wheel and connecting tie rods are not worn or cracked. Pitman arm, drag link, steering arm, and tie rod securely mounted with no missing nuts and bolts. No dents or damages. Ball joints and sockets are not worn or loose with no missing nuts, bolts, or cotter pins. Okay, my torque arms. Mounted securely with no cracks, dents, or damages. Shock absorbers, securely mounted to the frame and axle, not cracked, broken, missing, loose, damaged, or leaking hydraulic fluid. Bellows, the suspension on this vehicle is equipped with air bellows and should be checked for damages or audible air leaks. Bellows are securely mounted to the frame and axle. Okay, I'm going to go to my splash guard. Splash guard is securely mounted with no missing or broken screws, and splash guard must cover at least half the width of the tire. Okay, I'm going to check my 5 brake components. Brake hoses, lines, and couplings are secured, not cracked, worn, or leaking air. Brake chambers mounted securely, not cracked, dented, or leaking air. Push rods and slack adjusters mounted securely, not cracked, broken, missing, loose, or damaged. For manual slack adjusters, the brake push rod should not move more than 1 inch with the brake released and pulled by hand. This bus has automatic slack adjusters. Brake linings. They're mounted securely, not broken, cracked, or damaged. Brake linings would be checked through an open area in the back of the drum. Linings should not be worn dangerously thin with a minimum of 1/4 inch of thickness. Lastly, I have my brake drums. No cracks, dents, or holes. No signs of contamination such as grease and oil. No loose or missing bolts. Tire thread is evenly worn. No recaps allowed on the front tire, and nothing stuck in the tire that can puncture the tire. Thread depth is not less than 4/32. The sidewalls, inner and outer sidewalls, have no cuts, bulges, or damages. Inflation. To check the proper inflation requires the use of a tire gauge, and proper inflation should be at 130 psi cold. Valve cap and stem are present and secured with no damages. Rim. No welding repairs other than factory welds. No dents or damages. Lug nuts are all present and secured. No cracks or damages to the lug bolt holes. No rust trails or shiny metal on the rim indicating looseness. The hub seal. No leaks. All bolts are present and secure. Sight glass is used to check proper fluid level in the hub. Okay, before we leave this area, we're going to check for audible air leaks. No audible air leaks from brake chambers, brake hoses, lines, or air bellows. Okay, we're going to go to the back of the bus. All compartment hoses, fittings, couplings, and clamps are secure with no damage or leaks. High pressure hoses have fittings. Low pressure hoses have clamps. There's no leaks, drips, or puddles in the engine area or on the ground of coolant, engine oil, transmission oil, power steering fluid, hydraulic fluid, or fuel. Okay, first thing back here is the alternator. Mounted securely to the engine with no cracks, dents, or damages, no missing nuts or bolts. It is belt driven. Belts do not have more than 1/2 to 3/4 tension. Belts show no signs of wear, cracks, frays, or loose fibers. Electric connections are secured with no frayed or bare wires. Next is my power steering pump. The power steering pump is mounted securely to the engine with no cracks, dents, or damages, no missing nuts and bolts. It is gear driven. Hoses are not cracked, frayed, or kinked, and there's no leaks from the pump or connecting hoses. Next is the water pump. Water pump mounted securely to the engine with no cracks, dents, or damages, no missing nuts or bolts. It is belt driven. I would check the belt the same way as I did for the alternator. Hoses are not cracked, frayed, or kinked, and there's no leaks from the pump or hoses. Okay, next is the engine oil. This is the dipstick. Engine must be off. The dipstick is used to check the proper oil level. Level should be between the full and refill mark. No metal flakes or discoloration in the oil. Next is the coolant tank. Coolant tank is mounted securely with no cracks, dents, or damages, no missing nuts and bolts. Hoses are not frayed, cracked, or kinked. No fluid leaks from the tank or its connecting hoses. The sight glass is used to check the proper coolant level. Okay, I'm checking my exhaust system. No signs of leaks, such as rust or carbon soot in the area of the exhaust. Okay, then I'm going to close my compartment door. Door is securely mounted to the body with no missing nuts or bolts. Okay, next we're going to check the rear compartment. The first thing we're looking at is the power steering fluid container. Mounted securely with no cracks, dents, or damages, no missing nuts and bolts. The hoses are not cracked, frayed, or kinked, and there's no leaks from the container or connecting hoses. We also have a dipstick or sight glass, and it's used to check the proper fluid level. The proper level would be between full and the refill on the dipstick. Okay, then I have the air compressor. Air compressor is mounted securely to the engine with no cracks, dents, or damages, no missing nuts and bolts. It's gear driven. Air lines are not cracked, frayed, or kinked, and there's no audible air leaks from the compressor or its connecting hoses. Okay, and then I'm going to close my door. And door and hinges are properly secured to the body with no missing nuts or bolts. Okay, so now we're going to do the door side of the bus. I'm going to start with my exterior mirror. Brackets are not worn. They're securely mounted with no missing or loose nuts or bolts, and it's not damaged. Mirrors are clean, not cracked or damaged, and they're also properly adjusted. Okay, my turn signals, my side markers, and my reflectors are all amber in color, except the rear, and the rear is red in color. Okay, all my lights are securely mounted, no crack or missing or broken screws. Lenses are clean, not cracked or missing, and all my lights are operational. Now we're going to go to the fuel tank. Okay, fuel tank and cap are secured with no cracks, dents, or damages. There's no leaks on the ground from the tank or fuel lines. I close my door. Hinges are properly secured to the body with no missing nuts or bolts. Now we're going to check the rear axle area. The first thing I'm looking at is my frame. Okay, so I'm checking out the frame for signs of cracks, broken welds, holes, or other damages to the longitudinal frame, the cross member, the box, and the floor. My drive shaft. Okay, my drive shaft is located down here. It's not bent or cracked or has any signs of looseness. Couplings are secured and free of foreign objects, and it's properly lubricated. Okay, I'm checking my torque arms. Torque arms mounted securely with no cracks, dents, or damages. Okay, now we're looking at the shock absorbers. Mounted securely to the frame and axle, not cracked, broken, missing, loose, damaged, or leaking hydraulic fluid. I'm checking my bellows. Securely mounted to the frame and axle, not cracked, damaged, or leaking air. Okay, now I'm doing my splash guard. They're securely mounted with no missing or broken screws. Splash guard must cover at least half the width of the tire. Okay, now I'm going to go to my 5 brake components. Brake hoses and lines. Couplings, hoses, and lines are secured, not cracked, worn, or leaking air. Brake chambers, mounted securely, not cracked, dented, or leaking air. Push rods and slack adjusters, mounted securely, not cracked, broken, missing, loose, or damaged. And for manual slack adjusters, the brake push rod should not move more than 1 inch with the brake released and pulled by hand. And this bus has automatic slack adjusters. Brake linings, mounted securely, not cracked, broken, or damaged. Brake linings would be checked through an open area in the back of the drum. Linings should not be worn dangerously thin with a minimum of 1/4 inch of thickness. Brake drums, no cracks, dents, or holes. No signs of contamination such as grease or oil. No loose or missing bolts. Okay, that brings us to our tire components. Major tire damage must be reported immediately to the garage. Major tire damage includes bulges, loose threads, and punctures or deep cuts that expose the tire cord. Okay, in the back we have dual tires. It's evenly spaced and not touching. No foreign objects wedged or stuck between the dual tires. The thread. Tire thread is evenly worn with no thread separations. Thread depth is no less than 2/32. Sidewalls. Inner and outer sidewalls have no cuts, bulges, or damages. If recaps are present, there must be no tire separation between the tire cap and casing. Inflation. To check the proper inflation requires the use of a tire pressure gauge, and the proper air pressure should be 130 psi with cold tires. Valve cap and stem are present and secured with no damages. Rim. No welding repairs other than factory welds, no dents or damages. Vent holes should be properly aligned. Lug nuts. All are present and secured. No cracks or damages to the lug bolt holes. No rust trails or shiny metal showing, indicating looseness. Axle seal. All nuts present and secure. No leaks from the seal. And before we leave the area, no audible air leaks from the brake chamber, brake hoses and lines, or air bellows. Okay, we're moving on to the rear of the bus. My rear suspension, there's no air leaks from the suspension system or tires because the bus is sitting level to the ground. Okay, I'm going to check my lights. My clearance lights, identification lights, brake lights, tail lights, and reflectors, the proper color is red. My turn signals and four-way flashers, the proper color is amber. And my reverse lights and license plate light, the proper color is clear. All my lights are securely mounted, no missing or broken screws. Lenses are clean, not cracked or missing, and all my lights are operational. Okay, I'm checking my exhaust system. No signs of leaks, such as rust or carbon soot in the area of the exhaust. Okay, now I'm going to close my engine door. And the door is properly secured to the body with no missing nuts and bolts. Advise the examiner if you think of anything that you may have missed.